All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining in on this Facebook Live. And if you're watching it later, thanks for going to the Blue Courage Facebook page and taking a look at this. And we appreciate it very much. I'll also post this on my personal page. And so those of you that are on, if you'd like to share it now or share it when it's over so others can see it, we would greatly appreciate that, and hopefully they will too. So I want to spend just a few minutes. I'm only going to take 5 or 6 minutes of your time today to talk about some of the learning that we have had over our time at Blue Courage with the Heart Math Institute and also with David G., who's one of our teachers and mentors in this idea of resilience and coherence, being mindful, in these what really are challenging times, things that are going on that none of us have ever experienced before. So again, thank you guys for joining, and let's jump in and talk about this. First of all, before we can talk about, there's a lot of different ideas about what resilience is, and none of the definitions are wrong. I just want everybody to, as I talk about it, to kind of be on the same page and understand what I'm talking about. So oftentimes when we hear the idea of resilience, we think about being able to bounce back from things that happen to us. And that's absolutely part of it. But HeartMath wants us to understand that resilience is really bigger than that. Resilience is really about capacity. And if you think about what's happening today, our capacity is really being challenged. There's so many drains on our internal battery happening right now. So it's about increasing our capacity. Okay, but it's also that capacity to prepare for, because stuff's going to happen. It's not done yet. Things may get worse, but before they get better. And so we need to be able to prepare for it. And yes, we need to be able to recover from it. We need to be able to bounce back. But then the big piece of this is about being able to adapt in the moment, in the face of those stresses and challenges and adversities that we all are going to feel at different times. And our first responders out there, those of you that are listening from that perspective, you guys are and gals are experiencing something that, again, in our profession, we have not experienced this ever. And so, we have a lot of fight or flight that goes on in the course of a shift, but now almost the entire shift, because everybody we come in contact with now is a potential challenge for us, and that's different maybe than we have seen it in the past. And the HeartMath also tells us now that for a long time we thought that you either had the resilience gene when you were born or you didn't. Now, are some people just more predispositioned to be resilient? I think absolutely so. But at the same time, now we know through the science and their research is that we can actually learn to build our resilience, to learn to build that capacity, to sustain energy, so that when that moment that we're figuratively tapped on the shoulder, we will be ready to accept that challenge. So that's how we're going to look at resilience with this. And then also want to talk about this idea of coherence. Well, in the policing world, believe me, we know what uncoherent people look like. We see them every day. But really, what is coherence? HeartMath calls it an optimal state. And that doesn't mean, because it's optimal, doesn't mean we're always in it. But heart, mind, body, emotions are aligned and in sync, and they're working together in this energetic coordination that we're designed to have, but we don't always have. When fight or flight is introduced, those things begin to pull in opposite directions. Physiologically, the immune, hormonal, nervous systems, they function in this energetic coordination that they're designed to do. So that's what we're going to talk about when we talk about that. Well, where's the challenge today? I mentioned fight or flight. In policing, every call can trigger fight or flight, because every call is unknown. And so you never know. And so, and that idea of fight or flight, it goes back to prehistoric time when, you'd hear the saber-toothed tiger growl and fight or flight would trigger, and we need to be able to outrun the saber-toothed tiger, figure out a way to escape, to survive. Well, in policing, we still have some of that, no doubt. When you encounter violent or aggressive people, fight or flight is absolutely there. But in today's world, in the modern version of fight or flight, it's different because, most of us out there, we're not fighting physically every day. But so it takes on a little bit of a different texture, and so just arguing, it can be part of that. The aggressiveness that we see people at times today with the things that are happening. I was up at Sam's the other day picking up a couple of things. And, I saw, people were very frustrated with people walking too slow in the parking lot and honking their horns. Those are kind of things, the road rages that we see. The sabotaging emotions that we feel at times, and when we fill our life with drama, and isn't our life filled with drama today? I mean, all you have to do is watch the news and think about where our young people are, with being out of school and out of their routine. So that's some of the modern day fight, and flight is part of it too. We're really being asked to, in some ways, to disengage from our normal life, and that's part of that fight or flight that we're talking about. And they're talking about this social distancing today, and we had a team meeting the other day, and Michael Neela just framed it so well and helped me kind of get my head around it. And social distancing, I get it, but maybe really what we're doing is physical distancing, and maybe we can still find a way to be social and continue to connect with others that we know need it. I know for myself that's a big deal to stay connected with folks and yet keep our physical distance. So those emotional disconnects and separation can be part of that flight process also. Well, when fight or flight kicks in, there is a process in our autonomic nervous system that occurs. And so the sympathetic part of the nervous system kicks in. Cortisol and adrenaline and about a 1,500 neurochemical cocktail just come flooding into our system. And that energetic coordination that we were talking about with coherence begins to break down. The immune system shuts off, which is a real challenge today with what we're dealing with. Different pieces of our body, our breath speeds up, all of those things, the heart rate can increase, that type of thing. And so, all of those are going on when we get into fight or flight. And that's really one of the challenges that we're dealing with. And so what can we do to begin to shift that back in a very simple way and really engage the parasympathetic part of our autonomic nervous system that's designed to bring us back into coherence, where oxytocin, dopamine, DHEA, all these healthy neurochemicals, this other 1,500 neurochemical cocktail that comes in, but unfortunately they're not even. Heart Math, when we were going through their learning, they describe it as we just get a dump of cortisol and adrenaline, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But DHEA doesn't work that way. We just, real scientific term here, we just get a squirt of it. So it's not a balanced act. So we need to be actively doing something that can help us bring us back to balance. And there's a lot of different things out there to do. And I just want to talk about one of them. And it's really about quieting the mind. And how do we do that? There's a lot of different perspectives on it. The Eastern culture has known this for 1,000 years. Us in the West, we're a little bit slower to come to it. I'm from Missouri, so it's, show me, prove it to me. And finally, Western medicine, Western science is finally coming to understand this. And we hear a lot of people today talking about meditation, talking about being mindful and those kind of things. So let's look at a couple of the different perspectives. One of them in the policing world and in the military that is a person that's highly thought of is a guy by the name of Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman. He is a highly sought after speaker and best-selling author. Books like On Killing and On Combat are highly thought of. Well, what's he call it? He calls it tactical breathing. Now, in the police world, I'm a firm believer that if you put tactical in front of it, we'll buy anything. I'm waiting for the day that tactical underwear come out because we'll all be lined up at the 511 store to buy some. And then there's David G., who is our mentor and teacher for many years now. And he calls it, 16 seconds to clarity. But when it comes to the process, they're both identical. And this is about quieting the mind, helping those healthy neurochemicals come back into our system that allows us to prepare for, recover from, and adapt. Helps us bring us back into that coherence. He calls it 16 seconds. Something as simple as 16 seconds, we can begin to shift and be more in the moment and quiet the mind and begin to, instead of fight, flight, or freeze, now we're beginning to manage those things. And so what I want to do, I want to take just a couple of minutes here and let's just try 16 seconds. We'll do it for maybe a minute. And towards the end of it, I'm going to ask you to set some intentions in this. Now David G. says that optimally, the idea is to do this for 30 minutes twice a day. Well, good luck with that, at least initially, because that's tough to find 16 or to find an extra hour a day. And as he says, 30 minutes in the morning gives us a cute little acronym to help us to remember: RPM, rise, P, meditate. And then when you come home at the end of the day before the evening evolutions start, do some focused breathing again. And again, optimal 30 minutes twice a day. But you know what? I'm a 30-minute twice a day guy, but I didn't get there overnight. It started out as 2 minutes and then 5 minutes. And I built it over a couple of years to get to that 30 minutes twice a day. So let's try it. So let's just get comfortable. As David G. would say, let's feather our nest. But just get comfortable. Sitting in a chair, both feet on the floor, just relax. You don't have to sit and cross your legs and hold your hands a certain way. Just whatever's comfortable, be comfortable. And then what we're going to do is we're going to focus on our breath. All the issues and challenges in the world, we're just going to cast them aside. And all we're going to do is focus on that breath and feel that breath enter our body and leave our body for just a couple of minutes, maybe a minute. And we'll do that. So if you would, wherever you're at, if it's safe, close your eyes. And let's just take a couple of really nice, deep, cleansing, relaxing breaths. Let's just breathe in nice and deep and full. And then push all that old, stale air out. Let's do that one more time. Nice and deep. And wherever you hold your tension, in your jaws, in your neck, in your shoulders, relax that. And now push all that old, stale air out again. And I'll count the first round with you. And then you just continue on your own and focus on your breath. If thoughts come into your head, just push them aside and come back to your breath. So here we go. Let's do this. Let's breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. And now just continue on your own with that same process of breathing in and holding. Just focus on your breath. Feel that breath enter through your sinuses, down your airway, and fill your lungs. And now as that breath is leaving, feel that old stale air leaving your body, and that focus is on our breath. And as we're finishing up the last couple of rounds of this, I want to set some intentions for the day and think about things that are so important to us today in these challenging times that we find ourselves living in, and set these deep inside of us. This idea of acceptance. Accept the things that are happening, because a lot of it we can't control. To have acceptance. To have consideration for others that may be feeling the pain much worse than we are today. Have consideration for them and cooperation for them. Set up an intention of being empathetic. Many are struggling today. Let's remember to have empathy. And then the last one is to be courageous. To be courageous, because without courage, acceptance, consideration, cooperation, empathy, whatever value or virtue you want to set an intention for, it's just impossible. We have to have courage today. Okay, and when you're comfortable and you finish that last round, open your eyes and relax. And that's it. It's just that simple. A couple of times a day. Now, my cop friends out there, keep in mind, we can only do this process where it's safe. I'm not telling you to do this in your police cars. Close your eyes and breathe. Not at all. That's not it. Maybe it's at home, maybe it's in roll call or in the locker room or something. Those are the places to do that. Hopefully next week we'll get to do this again, and we'll talk about another process called heart-focused breathing that we can do anywhere, anytime, any place that helps us also. Well, if you have any questions, be sure and leave a comment for me. I'll answer those as quick as I can. If you're interested in some additional learning, David G. has a great book called De-Stressifying that is just a wonderful read. HeartMath has a book called The Science of the Heart, where they've kind of condensed their research. I call them crazy smart dudes, and some of their books are written like crazy science dudes, and that's not my thing at all. But this one kind of condenses it and much more digestible. Good books, and we'll put some info on how you can find those. Hey, well, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. Know that even in these challenging times, there's people out there that love you, that care about you, that want the best for you. And those of us at Blue Courage and me specifically are some of those people. So thank you. Be well. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.